Hey guys, this is just my second attempt at a voiceover. I know there's a crazy background noise, or at least there was on the last one. I apologize. So we are talking about Mendelian definitions. Today we're going to be talking about the ABO blood grouping, and we need to understand real complete dominance, like we've talked about, and codominance, where in the purple square, both alleles are dominant. Neither one masks the other, they both are expressed. And so that's going to play a big role in the ABO blood group. And so here we go. So dominant phenotypes. If we don't know what the other allele is, going to be a capital T or some capital letter denoting that allele is dominant. So is it a big T or is it a little t? That is the question. So big T, homozygous dominant, big T, little t, heterozygous dominant. Phenotypes exactly the same. Genotypes are different. The only way you see the recessive phenotype is if it's little t. So we'd have phenotypes tall, and short. So that's our, right, just standard complete dominance. Homozygous, heterozygous, both exactly the same. All right. Let's talk about another cross. We have homozygous recessive multiplied by or crossed with an unknown genotype, known phenotype. So phenotype is the dominant phenotype. We'd call it tall if we're talking about height. And so we have two different scenarios depending on whether it's homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant. And so if we filled in this Punnett square, we can see here that on the left side, if it's homozygous dominant, all the offspring are tall. So if we're just actually doing these, we can't see the genotypes. We can only see the phenotypes, right? If we're talking about a pea plant or a corn plant or something like that, right? So they'd all be tall. So in a test cross, as this one is, if you do a test cross with an unknown dominant phenotype guy and you get all dominant phenotype guys out in the offspring, you know had to be homozygous dominant because all of the offspring are going to be heterozygous. In this case, in complete dominance, all heterozygotes look like the dominant phenotype, in this case, tall. So in our other Punnett square, what would we find? So fill out that Punnett square, take a picture or a screenshot, and upload it to today's upload labeled voiceover Punnett square upload. So pause the video, go ahead and do that. And then we will fill it in. After you did it, please. Come on, you just got to make sure you know how to do this stuff. These are going to be the ones that you have to do super fast in your head without drawing a Punnett square. So we're going to practice as much as we can doing these quickly with the Punnett square so that you've done them enough so that you never have to draw out a Punnett square. You'll know a test cross
and so you only need one allele of
without
the
having to draw it.
Look dominant.
So here we are.
You have to have two recessive alleles to look
We're going to
recessive.
start drawing.
Yes.
Ooh, homozygous recessive. Is that guy? Oh, filling it in. What do we get? What is the phenotypic ratio?
Tall.
It's 1 to 1.
What's your genotypic ratio?
Half of them are going to be heterozygous dominant, half homozygous recessive.
And then this
half
is 1 to 1.
Tall
or half to half, 50,
and half
50.
short.
So
that automatically tells us in a test
tall,
cross, if
short,
you get a 1-to-1 ratio, half and half, dominant to recessive, you know that original parent, that dominant phenotype that you don't know the genotype, you know it has to be heterozygous. If it were homozygous tall, you'd have all tall offspring. If it's
Yeah.
heterozygous,
Didn't
tall,
realize that
or the
question
dominant
was on the
phenotype,
quiz because-
you get half tall, half short.
'cause I didn't
So that's
talk about
just
it.
the classic test cross.
Okay.
So
We're
let's
gonna
go
talk a
back
little
to
bit
our
more
little
about,
definition,
Mendelian genetics. We're only
our
gonna
little
cover,
definition sheet. Yes, I'm not recording this because I can't speak today. And we're going to talk about codominant, where it looks like both phenotypes. Incomplete
so far is complete dominance.
is
You have at
when
least
it
one
looks like
dominant
neither,
allele, you
essentially.
look dominant.
So I think at the beginning I
So
said the purple
homozygous
box was
dominant,
codominant,
heterozygous
and that's only
dominant
because I
look
can't
phenotypically
read this
exactly the
little
same.
box.
Homozygous
And I have my
recessive
glasses on, and it
one
doesn't
that
matter
looks
because
different. You
now
have
I'm
two
old and it's
phenotypes,
ridiculous.
right?
But
You have
anyways,
three
okay,
different
so
genes.
purple box,
That's
incomplete,
complete
looks like
dominance. That's all
neither. So
we've
that'd be
talked
like
about
white
so far.
times purple
The only
equals
exception
pink
to that we're
offspring.
going to do in here
Whereas
is blood type.
if you're looking at
because it's fun,
codominance, it would be like
right? And
striped
we can play
times
more
spotted.
equal fraternity
The offspring are
testing
stripes and spots.
using the Punnett
So it's
squares for
not
that too.
something new.
Just
They look
another
like
example.
both
And so
of the parents.
in
So that's the difference
and blood
between
typing gives us
incomplete
two
and
examples of
co
other
as far
weird-
as
not weird
phenotypes
genetic
go
things,
to
but different
distinguish
things that
them.
can happen.
Genotypes, as
So
we'll
for
see,
the
look
complete dominant
exactly
test,
the
the traits I've
same,
talked
whether
about
it's
so
incomplete
far, and all the
or co.
diseases,
It's just
cystic
what the
fibrosis,
phenotype.
albinism,
So if it looks like
lobster
neither,
claw, hitchhiker's
incomplete,
thumb,
it
all
looks
of
like
the
both,
tongue rolling,
co.
all
If
of
it's
those have only two alleles
not
that
clear,
exist in the
if
world.
pink
In the
is
gene
neither
pool.
white nor
Okay?
red, or it's
You're
a
either
combo
tongue
of white
roller or
and
you're
red,
not.
then
You
you
either
could
have a
choose
cat or
either
defect.
and it would be correct.
Right? You either
If
have
you're told
the
it
albinism
looks
allele or
pink,
normal.
but it's because it has
For blood
white and
type,
red parts
there's
of it,
more
then
than
you
two
have to pick
alleles
co.
out there in the world.
If it
in
says
the
it
gene
looks
pool.
pink because each little
Any one of us can
know,
only have two of them at a time.
pigment pixel
Why can we only
is
have two
pink,
alleles
then
at a
you
time?
have to pick incomplete because
Why
pink
can't
is
we have-
neither white
we're
nor
diploid,
red.
And because of our number one and number one
And then of
chromosome
course,
allele,
right, you're homozygous.
the only individuals
Two
who
alleles,
have three
homozygous, you're going
alleles
to
of
look
any
like
gene
that allele.
are like a
Right? That's the
trisomy
blue guys up
21.
top
Yeah,
for
then on
homozygous.
that,
So,
those three chromosomes, they have three alleles.
yeah, I don't know what else I was
That's not
talking
where the
about,
blood
but
type
apparently I
lies
talked a
anyway.
long time. So let's just
So even though
hope
there's more alleles out
that I
there,
switch
and
slides
all of us
soon
can
during
still
this
only
lecture.
have two of them.
Let's guess somebody
So that
asked a
does
question,
provide for
and I was
more
being
phenotypic
supportive and
variance in our
answering it.
population.
So I apologize
Right,
that you
than
guys have
just
to wait around for this
A or
voiceover,
B.
but it does
Right,
take
what
a
are all
long
the
time
blood
to make
types that we have?
videos, and aha, here it is. So oh, that was so fast.
Yeah, you can be
All right,
A,
so
you
we're
can
going to
be
talk
B,
about the
you can be
ABO
A, B,
blood
or you can
groups,
be
the
O.
multiple
we only
allelism.
had two
So there are
alleles, we
3
can't
different
have that
alleles
many
for the
phenotypes.
ABO blood
It doesn't-
types,
the math doesn't work
and
out.
they are
And so as
big
it
I,
turns out,
superscript A,
there are
big
three
I,
alleles
superscript
for the
B,
blood
and
type.
little
And this
I.
is just our ABO blood
So
type.
just because
It's
there's
not the
3
positive and the
options
negative.
doesn't
We're
mean
gonna do
each
that in the next
person
slide.
can have 3
But
alleles.
just
You can only
type
have
A,
2 of
type
them,
B, type A,
right?
and
So
type
you
O.
have pairs of
So there's 3 different
chromosomes,
alleles,
your
and
homologous
because there's
chromosomes,
more than 2
right? Those are the
alleles,
guys that have
they
both
use
of your
the
alleles
superscript
on
to
it.
designate
And so
different
we
alleles,
use
rather
this
than-
notation
because
so that
there's
we
only capitals
know
and lowercase.
it's really
You don't have
just
another kind of,
one gene,
cursive,
just multiple alleles.
to denote
And
which
so
ones these are.
that helps
And
us
in this
when we
case,
get to the next step where
there
we
is a
talk about
dominant and a
phenotypes that come from
recessive
2 different
nature to
genes that
these,
create one phenotype.
But
That's the
2 of the
extensions
alleles are
of
dominant.
Mendelian genetics when there's gene
They're not-
interactions. These are
they're
allele
codominant to
interactions.
each other, and they're
And so what
dominant
you can
over one of
see
the other ones.
is that
And so
in the
we
blood
can't just
types,
give them,
you can be homozygous type A,
or B,
heterozygous
or
type
O
A,
as our
homozygous
alleles,
B,
because in
heterozygous
genetics,
B,
that suggests those are
or
different genes. All
codominant
the alleles
AB.
always have the same
The only
letter.
guy that's
Big
not
B,
on
little
this
b.
little list at the bottom
Big
is
R,
little I,
So
which
if
is
you
what?
have more than
Type
2
O. That's the
alleles,
only
you
guy
have
left.
to do something else to
So
show that
the big
the
I, big
I
A, is dominant gene
means it's
allele.
a single
pardon me.
gene. The
Big I, big
subscript,
B,
or the lowercase,
is a
means
dominant
it's a different
allele. And the little I
Right, because
is
this
a
would get very
recessive
confusing. You think they're
allele.
multiple
So
genes.
both
And when we do the 2
IA
gene cross, you'll see
and
why you can't.
IB are
Anytime
completely
there's
dominant
more than one
over
letter, it
I.
suggests there's more than one
I is
gene,
recessive
not
to
just
IA,
allele.
I is
The
recessive
alleles
to
need
IB,
to have the same
but
letter. So the
IA
capital
and
I's
IB are
are
codominant
dominant,
to
and they
each
show them
other.
with the capital
So
A.
if you have both of
and
those
little I
alleles,
is
you are
recessive.
type AB
So
blood.
type O,
If you have
Oh, that fell
one
off.
IB and one little I, you're type B. right?
O
Little
blood
I
is the
is the
homozygous
only one
recessive.
that gives you
Little I
type
blood.
O. So if
A
your mom is
dominant
type O
over little
and your
I
dad
or
is
O,
type
B
O,
is dominant
you
over
have to
O,
be type O.
and A and B
If
are
you're not,
codominant.
one of them
Either
is not
one.
your parent. You got to go
If
play
you
Who's Your
have
Daddy on one of those
one allele you got from
crappy
mom,
reality shows or something
with
like
the
that.
A allele,
So
and an allele you got from dad is the B
AB
allele.
is the one that is
Your blood type
codominant.
is
You have
AB.
both of those
You have
sugars
both.
on your blood.
Neither
so
one
both
matches
show up.
the other one.
It's not
So
incomplete
they have to be codominant
because you have
to
both
each other.
type A and type
Right, 'cause they
B.
both show up. Remember,
on
recessive
your
means
cells.
it doesn't show up in the
It's
phenotype.
not different than
Both A and
the
B
you know
show
than
up in
the
phenotype.
parents. It's not incomplete.
Blood
It's a
type is
codominant.
AB.
But that little I
To be
acts
type
like
A, you
every
can either be
other
homozygous A or
codominant.
heterozygous A.
Complete dominance.
Big,
Right?
big
the,
IA,
the
big
dominant allele
IA,
is
or big
always
IA,
dominant
little
over
I.
the recessive.
Right?
So anybody that's a heterozygote
your dad is type
that
O,
has a
and
little
your mom
I
is type A,
has to
you could
be
be
either
you
type
know, at
A
least
or
one
type
of your
B.
alleles has
The
to
only
be
way you
little
can be
I,
type O is two
that's
little
all dad had to
I's.
give away.
Right?
And if he's a
Homozygous
father,
recessive
he's
is
got
type
one.
O. So if you're blood type A,
Okay.
you
And
don't
then
know if you're a
mom
homozygote
could have
or a
either given you an
heterozygote.
A or
If
a
you're
little
type
I,
B,
depending on if
you
she
don't
was
know if you're a
homozygous.
homozygote or a heterozygote. If you're type AB,
And
you
then
know
type
your
B is the same
genotype.
way, either homozygous
Right? If you're type
or
O,
heterozygous.
you know your genotype. So you can do a pedigree analysis
we
to try
were
to
going
figure
to
out
do
if you're homozygous or
Punnett
heterozygous
square,
for
which we're
A
all
or
gonna do,
B,
and
but
then
it
we're
can
gonna
get really
screenshot and
difficult
upload,
depending on
because
you
how
know
we are.
who is in the family and you know how it works. So we're going to show some examples. I think I'm going to show some examples in this lecture. So here we go. We have a heterozygous and we have a homozygous. This is essentially a test cross, right? But we can't really do test cross with people, so we're not going to call it that because that's kind of gross. So heterozygous A times type O, essentially.
So this is
And so we're going to fill out our Punnett square just like we always would. Doesn't matter. In this case, there's no
There's another allele out there, but you
IB
see
allele
that each
anywhere because this
person
isn't a
only
single
has
person, right?
right,
So they
you
have
can't
two
be
alleles, one on each
I,
chromosome, two alleles, one on each
I or I,
chromosome
I,
for the
I.
other parent.
You know, we only have two.
So
Only
if
have
we
that
fill
parent
out
homologous chromosomes.
our happy little Punnett square, we'll see what our possible offspring
are.
are.
Blood types of the offspring of this
So what do you
couple.
think? How about, since this is taking forever, there we go, fill that guy out right here. Practice on a piece of paper. Do this along with me. Please, please, please. You need as much practice as you can. Because again, this should be one you'll be able to do in your head before the exam. So obviously, half are going to be type O, and half are going to be type A.
For the upload,
and in this case,
but they'll be shown like,
we
like
know
this
the
on
genotype
exam.
of that parent now because this is essentially a test cross. They have to be heterozygous A. If
then
they were
what's this
homozygous
guy?
A,
Sorry.
they would have
if
all
I ask for
offspring that are
blood
type
type,
A if they
right, for
mated
these guys,
with a
They say
type
their
O.
blood type is A.
So
Right? Their
half of the
genotype is
offspring,
heterozygous
1-to-1
A.
ratio of type A to type O.
And what about these guys?
So
Yeah,
any
their
kind of
blood type
combination
is
of
O.
these questions, you should be ready to answer. What is the
this would
phenotypic
be like a
ratio
test
of
cross.
this
Right? If you didn't
parental,
know
this
what
cross
your
of
mom
these
just
two
blood type
parents?
A, the red
What is the
cross just tells you
genotypic
blood
ratio?
type A. They don't tell you
1-to-1.
homozygous, heterozygous.
What are the genotypes?
Right,
What
but
are the
dad's
phenotypes?
O, so
Any
then that
kind of
couple
question like
decides
that.
to
What
have
are the
10
blood
kids,
types?
right,
You
make
should be
sure
able
their
to
numbers
answer
are good
very,
enough for
very quickly.
probability.
Look at that question,
And if
answer
at
it
least
within 20 to
one
30
of the
seconds. If you have to
offspring is
draw out
type
Punnett
O,
squares
they
for
know
these
mom has to
easy
be heterozygous.
questions on exams, you are not going to have enough time to finish.
Now they'd have to have 100
So let's make
kids
sure
to
we do
really
lots of practicing. So please, please,
prove
please
they're supportive.
draw your
There's at
Punnett
least one
squares.
O,
We
even
love
if
the
they have
Punnett
two kids,
square.
You know what mom is. But
All
if,
right, so I must be
you know, if
babbling
everybody
on
turns out
and
to be
on
type
about
A,
something
you have
else
to have at
during
least
class
100
today.
kids to
So
be
let's
sure.
just see.
And then that would just be wrong.
Yes,
please.
So
Whatever
how
the first
about
one
if
of
you guys
today's
draw me
deal.
the Punnett square of a homozygous A times a type O guy, and take a
It's
screenshot or
implied,
draw
but
it on
it would be
paper and take a
accurate to
picture
say it's
and
homozygous.
upload it
Yeah.
to
Because there is some weirdo crap out there. that we're not
ABO
gonna
blood
talk about
group
that
video
It can be
voiceover
type O
upload
and
number
really
2.
have an allele for
And
something
that
else.
will be
That
give you some
allele's
points
mutated. It's like the
and help you
phenotypes and
practice.
some crazy shit, but we're not
And
doing
you
that.
should see
That's other fun, nerdy genetic stuff.
that your outcome is different than this one.
And then we could also play little games
All right.
like,
Oh, thank goodness. I must have stopped talking in class. I really talk a long time in class, so I apologize for how long this is going to take. I just couldn't do any more trimming and video production stuff because it was killing me. All right, so what if we do type B? What do you think? Type B? What do you think I'm going to do? Heterozygous or homozygous? Oh, it's another heterozygous. What are we crossing with? Oh. We don't know. We're playing Who's Your Daddy.
Okay,
So this time we know. So in order to do anything, what do we have to know? We have to know 2 individuals
So we know mom.
at least of the cross. You can't just ask what are the offspring if you have no idea what the parent is. You either have to know a parent and some offspring, or at least one offspring, or all the offspring, what are the parents, or what are the 2 parents, what are all the offspring. So if we're told that
and again,
at least one child is type O, what does that mean the parent has to be?
But it doesn't
Question
matter.
mark.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Yeah, so
What do you think?
let's Moodle upload
What
the
does
one
the
you guys
parent
just
have
did,
to
and then
have?
we'll Moodle upload this one too.
Which
So
one
this would be
allele
like a
does he
question I might
have to
ask on
have?
an
Does he
exam,
have
or,
to be
some
type
fun
B?
Question. Okay.
No.
So a mom who's type B
Does he have to
has
be
a
type
baby
O?
who's, so we know
No.
this baby exists.
He just has to have
Baby.
at least
Baby with type O blood.
one little
And
I
he's got
allele.
5
So he could be a
potential fathers
heterozygous
lined up
A or a
behind the
heterozygous
curtain.
B, or he could be a type O. So just from
Right.
that,
And
you
they're
have
trying
options
to
of what
prove
that
that
parent's
they're
going
not
to be.
the father or whatever.
Now, if you're told what some of the other
And so then
offspring
our question
are,
is, so
then that
because
helps
the
you
baby's
determine
type O,
more
we
besides
know
just has to
mom
have at
has
least
be
one little I allele.
heterozygous B. Why do we know that?
If you're told the phenotypic ratio of the
Yeah, 'cause she
offspring,
gave
that
one
can
away,
help
so
tell
she
you
had
what
to
that
have
other
it.
parent is.
Right,
If you're told
one of
about at
this-
least one other offspring, depending
This
on what
I
it is,
will say
that
this
can
I.
determine what that other
One of
parent
the I's
is.
had to come from mom. The other I,
So
has
let's
to
just
come
see.
from dad. So the father has to have at least
see?
one little I.
And so if
which
there
of the-
is
which
at least
blood type
one little I, so then we
of
know
the men behind
what
the
at least
curtain
one
are-
more of the
they cannot prove
offspring
they're not
right, has
it.
to
They're
have.
totally
Half of the
screwed if
offspring
they're
have to
type-
have at least one little I.
If they're type AB,
And
they're
we
off
know
the- yeah, right. If they're
essentially
type
now that
AB,
3/4
are they
of
off the
them
hook?
would have to have
Yeah,
that little
because
I,
they can't
because in
give up
that
a
left
little,
side
right? So the two
square,
guys
bottom
behind
left,
the
we're
curtain
going to
that
have
are
a
type
little I
AB,
from
do a
the
victory
mom,
dance
right?
and leave.
We're playing Who's Your Daddy, so we're pretending the
Who
question mark is
totally-
the
There's
dad.
no possible way they could even argue at all that
And we know
they're
the
not.
mom's genotype. We were told, or somehow
Right.
we know that she's
for
heterozygous
sure, right?
B.
Because O's got 2 little I's.
And so we were trying to figure out,
There's no way
who's
you
your
could
daddy.
say, oh, but I'm homozygous A. Right? Anybody who's type A blood
So here I am. I must be babbling along during
could
class.
be this
Oh!
or could be this. So then we'd have to
If
do
we're
PCR
talking
sequencing
about
or
what
something else
if,
to get this
I think
guy
I said,
off,
what
you
if
know,
they're
that
type
guy
A?
off. Yeah, type
Could
B
they
and type A
possibly
are screwed
be
too on Maury Povich.
heterozygous
They're not gonna be doing any
A?
molecular biology.
Yeah.
So they're still,
Could they be
those 3 are the
homozygous A?
candidates, right? And so they're not
No.
usually super smart there.
Because they have to have
And
a
so
little
the-
I.
our
That guy
type
doesn't have a little
A,
I. We know
I can't
baby.
have a type O
One
baby.
offspring is little I,
And
little
then
I.
you
They
guys
get
would
one little
be
I
like,
from the
Oh,
dad
no, you didn't.
and one
because
little
they
I
could
from
be
the mom.
heterozygous.
We know mom is heterozygous B. We don't know what dad is. So if
they're
dad's
O, then
type
you
A
can't argue
has
at
to
all.
be heterozygous.
You have 2 little I's. It's totally possible.
If
for
there's
you
a
to be
man
the
being
dad.
accused
But the type
that's
A
type
person
A that we know
might
is
argue,
homozygous
I'm
type A because we did
How could I
sequencing or
possibly
something,
have type
then he
O?
can't be the
And
daddy.
then we
That gets him out of
explain to
it.
them that
Has
if
to be
you're
heterozygous if it's a
A,
type A.
if you were homozygous A, then you're
Not
off the hook.
homozygous. He wins.
But
See,
you can't
smiley
tell
face,
that
he gets
just
to
from your
leave.
red cross card
He's not
of
the
blood
daddy.
type. Right? You have to do more than that.
Okay, now I'm telling bad jokes.
Yeah.
Nobody's laughing except me because
Yeah.
I think I'm
Just
hilarious.
write something that makes sense.
Of course, nobody
So
else
the
does.
type A guy, so how could the type A guy prove
All right. Okay,
or
Malone, quit
support
talking.
or
Keep
whatever that
moving.
he's homozygous A?
Move on.
Are there
All
any
right, we're gonna have a
people
moment of
out there
silence
related
until I
to
start
him that you
writing
could bring
again.
in a blood type card and a specific blood type would totally
Talk
get him
amongst
off the hook?
yourselves.
his parents, what do both his parents have to be for him to be homozygous A?
Man, I really wish I would have had the microphone on. I wouldn't
But we don't know
have to torture you guys. You guys would be just tortured with my babbling in
listed
class.
on their stupid Red Cross card.
I swear I'm about to say something really
What
profound.
phenotype
Draw something here for you guys that you're going to love.
would they have to be for him to be A and get 2 A's?
No?
A, B.
Okay.
Right? They both
Malone,
have
let's
to be
go.
A, B.
Oh, I don't know what I
Let's do
was
a
supposed
square,
to do there.
shall we?
Why did we
I
just
love it.
erase all of that?
So here's our man.
Okay, I think you
know,
get it,
he's
right?
Type A.
Oh my goodness.
And we want to
Okay,
know
so
what
if
his
we
parents are
know
that can make sure
baby
Dad has to have an A
is
and Mom has to have
homozygous
an A.
type A, what do we know about mom and dad? Right, again, we have to know somebody.
Yeah, do the second upload
So we
on that
know what alleles
one. Right.
mom and dad at least have to have. Each one has to have a big I, big A. In order for an offspring to come out homozygous
I
A, you
know,
gotta get
it's
one from
points,
mom and one
people.
from dad. Right?
Right.
The law of segregation, you can't get both alleles from one
Yeah,
parent.
Take a picture of the screen.
You gotta get an allele, one allele from one parent, one
I don't
allele
wanna
from
draw
another
anymore,
parent.
Guys, you're killing me. No.
What if
But we wouldn't
the
know
parents were both AB?
just by their type. Yes,
Yes,
they could in
you
reality
could get a type
be
A homozygous from
dominant A,
2 AB
homozygous dominant
parents.
A.
What
he can
else
only be homozygous
would you get?
dominant
What
A.
other
But if all he has is their red
offspring?
cross
What would the other
blood type
offspring
card,
look like?
It just
if both
says
parents
A.
were AB?
It's that stupid A problem. Like, I'm type A, and
Huh?
I don't know
Huh?
if I'm homozygous
Down?
or heterozygous.
Over?
And you know that keeps
Am I
me
gonna
up
draw
at
it?
night.
Am I
I can't
gonna
sleep
ignore
thinking
it?
about my genotype.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still talking.
Yeah.
All right,
So if
fill it
they're
out.
if they
Take a
both have the
screenshot
red
and
cross card
upload.
that says
Draw it on a
AB,
piece of paper.
they don't
Take a
have
photo
any
and
eyes
upload
give
to number
him.
3
He must have
of
gotten,
ABO
and he's type A,
blood typing
he had to have
voiceover
been-
video.
Right. His
Ooh,
siblings.
I'm circling. That's exciting. Oh, I'm
right,
filling
he
it
could
out.
have siblings that are
Okay, so
AB.
pause that video so you can
He
do
could
your
have
upload.
siblings that are B.
No
He
cheating.
could have siblings that are
It doesn't
AB.
help you if you
But
wait
we
for me
know
to do
he's
it and
type
then you fill
A.
it out. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
But
so
it's really hurting you. You have to practice
Sure, we
before
can
the
upload it.
exams.
I think
There's
three
going to be
today.
no time. Okay? We have to cut
we have
time
another,
super
I'll just
short
make
because I
another
know
one.
this COVID Zoom
The power
classes
right
and
here.
exams online are just a cheating
Add another
frenzy. So it's
does
not
this
going to
make
happen.
sense?
All right, so we have
Yes,
homozygous
no?
B,
No, you
2
cannot.
ABs, and homozygous A.
Right.
So
Yeah,
what would
so
our
now he does a
phenotypic
victory dance
ratio
and walks
be?
off the show.
Anyone?
So those are the kind
Anyone?
of questions, right? You have
Think
all
about it
the
in your head.
tools.
Come up with an answer. 1
you know
to 2
dominant
to
and
1.
recessive, you know the
1
blood
B,
types and what
2
they
AB,
mean. And then
1
I
A.
present you a
What about
situation
genotypic
where you
ratio?
have to think about all the stuff you know to come up with your answer. You might
This is
have
what
to
I'm
draw
asking
a
the class
couple
right now.
squares, or at least one.
1 to
Right.
2 to
I can
1.
give you the
Right?
the
Phenotype.
or
Type
the
B,
genotype
type
of the
AB,
child. You
type
tell me
A.
the parents. I can give you the parents. You tell
So
me
you
the
got to be able to
child.
go through all of those. Tell me genotypes, phenotypes,
Tell me the
ratios,
grandparents.
all super quickly. Snap of the fingers. You're going to have less than 20 seconds to do these simple monohybrid crosses. If you're drawing Punnett squares by the time we take the exam for these, you are not going to get to all the questions. It's going to be lots and lots of questions on the exam. The exams are going to be curved so that
If
whoever
there's
answers the
multiple
most
alleles,
questions correctly
there's
gets 100% and
usually
everybody
some
else is
codominance
distributed
going
from
on,
there.
or a dominant
So if you spend
theory,
a long
where
time
this
looking up
one's dominant over this
answers
one,
or
but
texting
not over
somebody else to
that
get the
one, which is
answers or
dominant over both of
Googling or
them,
looking it
but
up
we're
in the
not
book
gonna
or
do
going
that
through
here.
your
We'll get
notes,
to those
you're not
more
going to get to enough questions
complicated
and you're not going to
situations
pass
when
the
we get to
class.
360.
So please, please,
And then
please
the other,
do these for me. Oh my gosh, I'm flipping through and I guess we're done. So thank you for listening. I totally appreciate it and see you soon.